Saitama versus Juggernaut, the ultimate unstoppable force versus another unstoppable force. One guy can put down anyone with just one punch, while the other guy literally can't be put down. Something's gotta give here, but who's ultimately coming out on top? Well, today, that's what we're gonna find out. What's up, guys? I'm Daniel, and this is DanCo. We do fight breakdowns every week, plus the occasional power ranking video like this one, or things like that. So if that seems interesting to you, we'll sit back and enjoy the video. Hit that like button. If you want to, well, hit the subscribe button while you're at it. Now let's get to it. Saitama was once an ordinary man like you or me, trying to get by in a 9-to-5 world and make ends meet. But having always wanted to be a hero as a kid, Saitama began to train hard, doing 100 push-ups, 100 sit-ups, and running 10 kilometers every day for 3 years. And as a result of all that training, 2 things happened. 1, his hair fell out, and 2, he became so strong that he could kill any monster with just one punch, which honestly really sucked. Since becoming strong, Saitama was able to be a hero as a hobby, but his overwhelming power denied him what he wanted most, a real fight, where he could go all out and push the limits of his strength. What's more, the world at large didn't seem to acknowledge his power, dropping him at the bottom of the hero ranks and attributing most of his efforts to others. In that time though, he's met and taught the Cyborg Genos, encountered all sorts of incredible monsters like Boros, Orochi, and Garo, and prevented massive cataclysms more than once. And though he doesn't make a big deal of it, turns out he's got some pretty good heroic instincts. So maybe this hero thing will work out after all. No matter how much you try, there are limits to your growth. God actually designed it this way, where each creature has to grow within certain parameters, and the mechanism to control that growth is called a limiter. Heroes work hard to develop their talents and gain incredible powers, or they enhance themselves with experimentation or cybernetics, or some are simply born with remarkable gifts. But Saitama is different. He was a normal person of ordinary birth with an ordinary lifestyle and no particular talent. Yet, just through sheer effort, he forced open his limits and demolished his limiter. He self-evolved, acquiring unimaginable, limitless strength. So strong that Saitama is able to effortlessly defeat powerful monsters and villains with a single casual punch. He's done this plenty of times. Pretty much every monster that Saitama runs across, well, he can destroy them with just one punch without even trying. And Saitama is always getting more and more powerful too, to the point where he's fought against a simulation of himself from just the day before, was able to take him out with one punch. He's destroyed a meteor that was threatening several country-sized cities with just one punch. He's jumped from the moon to the earth before, destroying a lot of the moon's surface in the process. And he's easily one-shot Monster King Orochi, whose body is durable enough to contain part of the earth's core inside of him. Or his durability is so great that most punches thrown his way are just meaningless. They don't do a thing. They literally can't hurt him or affect him. And he's so fast, they can kill monsters and appear to be standing in place and having never moved, or dodge attacks and keep up with opponents so easily that he just thinks it's funny. And that's all when Saitama is barely even trying. If Saitama wants to though, he can perform the serious series moves. In the serious series, Saitama is basically trying a bit harder and putting more effort into his attacks, unlike before. Still not even close to his upper limits though. He's been able to one-shot Elder Centipede and obliterate evil ocean water with a serious punch, and he's deflected Lord Boros' collapsing star roaring cannon, which had the power to wipe away the planet's surface with just one serious punch. And in the process, well, he split apart the atmosphere and killed Boros. Saitama is even so powerful that he could blow apart the Earth with just one punch if he really wanted to. It's just that he would never want to do that. And then there's his fight against Garo. Garo might not have started out as much compared to Saitama, but after having some power imparted to him by God, Garo became one of the most powerful beings in the universe, and was able to give Saitama the best fight he's ever had. And even then, Saitama was still able to win and was fighting with just one hand. But it's the most serious that we've ever seen Saitama, so let's take a look. During the fight, Saitama is pushed further than he's ever been before, and experiences an exponential growth rate in his powers that we've never seen before. It looks like a combination of emotional pressure and a worthy opponent gave Saitama the opportunity to tap into powers that again we've never seen before. He can destroy a moon with a serious table flip. A serious sneeze blows away all the gas surrounding Jupiter's core. And he's able to send Cosmic Garo flying with each punch he lands. And all of Garo's powers, every technique at its disposal, the best it can do is just destroy Saitama's clothes. And even though Cosmic Garo is literally copying all of Saitama's stats, Saitama is growing so fast in his strength, his speed, his durability, that Garo literally can't keep up. And still, none of this is near Saitama's upper limits.
Don't you know who I am? I'm the Juggernaut, bitch!
Cain Marko was the stepbrother of Charles Xavier, the founder of the X-Men, and grew up jealous over his brother's telepathy, forming a lasting resentment between the two. During his service in the army during the Korean War, Cain would stumble across a cave that had a temple dedicated to the powerful mystic being known as Sidorak. Touching the crimson gem at the heart of the temple, Cain was transformed into Sidorak's avatar on Earth, an unstoppable human Juggernaut. For years he would face off against the X-Men, the Hulk, Spider-Man, Thor, Doctor Strange, and many other superheroes. But one constant remained for the Juggernaut. No matter the obstacle, he will never stop. Juggernaut is superhumanly strong, and does have the unique power in being completely unstoppable. And I mean that pretty literally. He can straight up walk through miles of bedrock and fracture tectonic plates. He can walk right through the Hulk. The only way World War Hulk could stop him is just by getting out of his way, sending Juggernaut charging straight out of the battlefield. Because, like I said, he's unstoppable. That's absolutely nuts. And, like I said, he's also incredibly strong. Strong enough to regularly fight against both Thor and Hulk and beat both of them his fair share of times. These two have always kind of seemed like the cream of the crop when it comes to physical powerhouses over in Marvel. They're the top tier, but Juggernaut really should be right up there with them. For as many times as he's gone toe-to-toe with them and fought against them, even beat them, it's really hard to say that Juggernaut isn't just as strong. And on top of that, Jugs has regularly one-shotted some pretty powerful people, like Colossus, Captain Britain, even Captain Marvel Jr. in a crossover with DC, so that just further sets him apart from the rest and shows he's one of the top powerhouses in the Marvel Universe. And then, as if that kind of strength wasn't enough, Juggernaut has a force field that adds to his already insanely impressive durability, just further solidifying the fact that he is truly unstoppable. He's been completely fine after taking point-blank attacks from the Hulk, point-blank attacks from Thor. He's been punched from Earth to Mars by Scar and lived to tell about it, and was completely unharmed by Cyclops with enough force to tear a planet in half. Now, it's definitely debatable if Scott really has that kind of power behind his optic blast, but seeing as how Juggernaut just completely no-sold it and just laughed, I'm gonna say it really didn't matter to him. Now, the rule is that he has to have his helmet on for this impenetrable force field to operate around Juggernaut, but even when his helmet has been removed or the force field negated altogether, Kane is still ridiculously tough and can put up a fight against the best of them. And it's not just simply punches either. He can't be cut by Wolverine's claws. He's completely fine after being hit with lightning bolts from Thor, or even a God Blast, an attack that scared Galactus in the past. Heat and cold don't faze him, and it doesn't matter how hot or cold it is. He'll never grow tired, he'll never stop. Juggernaut has even been completely reduced to a skeleton, and he just kept on going. Juggernaut is truly unstoppable.
Oh my god! Juggernaut! I thought that was you! I should have worn my white pants!
So, who wins here? Well, let's break it down. Now, this is truly the case of an unstoppable force versus an immovable object. And I'll let you decide which one is which here. Both of them are completely unstoppable, and both are totally immovable. Now, the first thing I kind of want to address is the idea of Saitama being a gag character. Because even though he is, it's not necessarily in the way you might think. The joke isn't that Saitama can beat everything or everyone in just one punch. So if you believe that he can do that here with Juggernaut, well, I think you're probably wrong. Because if Hulk can't do it, if Thor can't do it, then I don't think Saitama can do it. Mostly because there have been powerful enough opponents who have been able to survive his punches before, at least for a little while. No, see, Saitama's gag is that he's an anime protagonist at the end of his series put in at the beginning of the series, where he's too strong to have a challenge. So therefore, he's basically able to beat every opponent he runs across with just one punch. All this to say, even though Saitama's limiter has been broken, it doesn't necessarily mean he has no limits to his strength and can instantly scale to any opponent and put them down with just one punch. It more means that he has limitless potential growth. The only thing holding him back is actually the world around him. He needs good fights and equal competition in order to grow and get stronger. And there's not much of that around him. It's like a world-class weightlifter being stuck with just 5-pound dumbbells. Only so much you can do. And that's why Saitama began to grow so exponentially more powerful during his fight with Cosmic Garou, because he had finally found an equal opponent, and so he could finally start truly getting stronger. Now, how does all this pertain to his fight with Juggernaut? Well, in Saitama's fight with Garou, he did several incredibly impressive things, destroying a moon with one hand, destroying a huge part of Jupiter with a sneeze, but the most impressive one was the Serious Punch Squared, where Saitama and Garou's fists clashed, and Saitama contributed half the force necessary to create a massive explosion and leave a hole in the universe, erasing countless stars, solar systems, potentially even galaxies. Wiping them from existence without a trace. Now, there have been plenty of attempts to try and quantify this feat, but general consensus is that it's somewhere between multi-solar system and multi-galaxy level in power. With how exponentially fast Saitama was growing in power during that fight, this isn't even near his limit. He well surpassed this. But honestly, you can argue that even that isn't beyond what Juggernaut is capable of dealing with. I mean, look at this. He's been able to fight against the Hulk, easily overpower the Hulk as he ran right through him. He's beat the Hulk before. The Hulk has had fights where he's destroyed universes. He shook the whole multiverse. And yet Juggernaut is powerful enough to straight match the Hulk. So it's possible that Juggernaut is on those levels too. Or Thor. Thor is strong enough to move 10 whole universes at the same time. But yet there have been several times where Juggernaut has just absolutely bodied Thor and beat Thor in a fight. So again, it suggests that Juggernaut is potentially on universal level scaling. Not even to mention the fact that Juggernaut has scrapped with Nightmare in his dream dimension before, or overpowered Sidorak himself in the Crimson Cosmos. It's definitely possible that on his best day, Juggernaut is stronger. But then, of course, it's also completely possible that Saitama will eventually surpass him at some point throughout the fight. But while Saitama might at some point just straight surpass Juggernaut, I actually think the bigger thing here is that Juggernaut has a beatable weakness. Get through that helmet and he becomes much easier to put down. That's been proven time and time again. And I think Saitama is a jokey enough character to actually make that happen. Here's what I mean. Now, Juggernaut's helmet can just be straight removed, and Saitama is definitely fast enough to do that. But I think that's assuming that Saitama would know to do that and know that that is how to beat Juggernaut. I don't think Saitama will think that hard about it. But Juggernaut's durability and his force field can also be taken down by getting through the magic that empowers it. Thor proved that. And Saitama has shown us that he can casually interact with mystical and spiritual things, damaging a spiritual dimension of reality by punching a hole in it from the outside. Completely ignoring its invisibility, its intangible nature, or the fact that it exists in its own completely separate space-time. I think it's possible that Saitama could just punch Juggernaut and punch right through his durability, shield and all. And if you say that that doesn't make sense, well, I would say I would agree. But that's Saitama for you. Juggernaut might for the most part be limitless, but there are in fact limits to the character. Hulk has stopped him before, even though he's supposed to be unstoppable. Thor has managed to hurt him and even knock him out with his helmet still on, so his impenetrable force field supposedly still up. Meanwhile, as of now, Saitama hasn't even shown the first sign of a limit. In fact, that's the whole thing. His limiter is just gone. And so I think that's ultimately our answer. Saitama is both the unstoppable force and the immovable object here, and he's ultimately coming out on top. Saitama wins.